Hello, gorgeous.
We're back.
Back in action.
Yes, after a fun weekend together.
Best weekend together.
Yes. How are you?
Welcome, everyone, to Big Questions, Small Talks, episode 5.
5. Thanks for sticking around to those that have.
I know, and it is really fun because I feel like people are still watching. It's not like they've dropped off.
No, but those that have won't see this, so it doesn't matter
That's
anyway.
So true. Also, I really like the pony.
Thank you.
I keep looking. It's so cute.
Thank you. And we both wore ponies on the exact same episode, even though we never do.
Yeah, that's true.
It's almost like we planned it
It
but
is.
we actually didn't. Also, I want our followers, viewers, listeners to see the little condoms that we bought for the mics.
They're very cute and we feel really protected.
I feel very proud of them. I actually designed them myself on Canva.
It's good.
Yes. And
Canva's
so
great.
Yeah, very proud of these this week.
This is the most protection I've used in like 10 years.
Lovely. Actually, me too. Let's start, Devon.
Okay.
Let's start.
So this is our 5th episode.
Mhm.
So we've decided that every kind of 5th episode we want to do a roundup.
A monthly roundup.
Yeah.
So it will fall at the end of every month. I think Devon and I, when we plan what question to answer, we've been finding that there are things that happen to us like during the weeks that aren't enough for an episode themselves, but we still want to talk about them. So at the end of every month, we're going to do a monthly roundup with some quick fire questions that we've come up with.
Wow.
And they're really fun and we'll kind of get through them quite quick, but you can expect that from us end of every month.
And then if you have questions, you can still send them to us for
Obviously.
the weekly.
And
the
we'll decide if
monthly.
they're big enough for an episode,
Yeah.
or if not, you can still find them in these sort of roundup episodes.
Love. Okay, 1st one.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we used to do this in my family all the time, but it's like the peak and the pit. So peak in the pit of your month, or it could be of your week. But what was like something that's like really fun and like a high that you want to share? And then what was the pit?
Peak was that I went to the Maldives with my family and my wife.
Love.
Little family vacay. If you follow me on IG, you should have liked the pictures by now. And we joked around that it felt very White Lotus because it was a very eventful trip for us. Like a lot of travel related things happened and just a lot of like little things happened. So I love a good family vacay. I will always go on every vacation that my parents have that they invite me to, as long as I like am not busy. So that was definitely my peak. Also, I'm getting Invisalign.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not sponsored.
Wait, you are? When?
Yes. Like for the next year.
Okay.
So that's also a peak, is that I'm going to have perfect teeth.
Obsessed.
Thank you. And then I'd say the pet is probably one that we share because we went through it together.
I'm excited to talk about this pit.
Yeah, we'll have to be mindful of how much we share. But I guess Devon and I, obviously, as you all know, we're fucking new to this. We don't know what we're doing with this podcasting thing. We're learning, though, slowly but surely. And so when we started, we found what we thought was the perfect editor for us.
When you found this editor, remember how fired up I was? I was like, he's absolutely perfect. He's the nerd that we always needed in our lives. I do think initially I knew there was something off, but I thought that it was a lovable type of off.
Yeah, and I think we were just very optimistic because I think, if it's usually male nerd, you think this is going to be great. Someone that knows more than us, clearly. Long story short, I think we can just make this brief. The editor lost our SD cards for like 2 of the episodes. We were just having kind of issues as we were going along. And I think losing SD cards when you're literally a film editor is like pretty basic on what not to do.
Yes.
And then things just got weird and worse. And then there were other issues. And then he ghosted us with our footage.
Well, he lost one of the SD cards. So I went and met him at a coffee shop. I gave him the SD cards. Then he texted us, gaslighting us, saying that we had lost the SD card. And then I knew that I hadn't because of my severe OCD.
Right.
Then I called a friend who lived in his area, the friend went to the coffee shop and found the SD card on the floor.
Yeah.
Which is just
like
deranged in
and then
itself.
Devon and I, after we went through the situation, as you can all imagine, Devon and I were like, okay, we have to fire him, but we have to be mindful of when to do it because he's got our footage and he needs to edit it. He fired us before we fired him because I think he didn't want to. He fired us.
He
didn't want to deal with us. He fired us. But after we went through the situation, Devon and I were like, of course this happens to us. Like,
yeah,
is it us? Are we the problem?
Right.
But we're not the problem.
No,
we're never the problem.
May I add that while he had ghosted us for like 6 days, I was calling and texting so much that then when we were thinking he had passed, I texted him and said, if you don't respond to us in 1 hour, I'm going to call 911 and do a wellness check on you. And he still didn't respond.
Yeah.
And then hours later, he said, I do not want to work with
Meanwhile, I'm in the fucking Maldives, swimming with manta rays.
Yeah.
Devon's like, we don't have an episode. And I'm like, la la la.
How you edited on iMovie.
Oh, and then and then what we did do, how we got the episode is with the footage that we did have, we were on a time crunch and I said, fuck it, I'll just edit it on iMovie. My media studies skills from 17 years ago edited episode 4 iMovie by Yaz. And when I exported it to YouTube, it still said my movie.
So that was that. That was our editor. And yeah, I never imagined we'd be ghosted by him, but here we are.
Yeah. Do you want wait, you have another peak that was pretty peakful.
Is it perishable?
Is it perishable? Go on.
Okay, so speaking of being ghosted, at 33, I have officially been ghosted for the first time. I'd never been ghosted before, and so when girls would talk about it, like, I'd want to be like really empathetic, but I could not relate.
Right.
So basically the story is a man that I had been seeing previously and had slept with over 1 year ago came back to LA and moved back. And so we are friends, like we're homies, like we stayed in touch. He had been hitting me up for months and months and months. At the time, I had a boyfriend, so I was not really like reciprocating. Finally, we meet back up and we are now hanging all the time. So it was his birthday and his 1 year of sobriety. So we talked on the phone and made plans to hang out like on a Thursday night for his birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So to do something nice, I baked a cake, a homemade cake.
Mm-hmm.
And in the morning, I had this weird feeling and I was like, oh God, I hope he doesn't cancel how embarrassing that I've baked like Ina Garten's coconut cake with like beautiful frosting and piped HBD.
Mm-hmm.
So then the day's going by and I get a text from him and he's like, hey, I actually can't hang out tonight. My friends planned a surprise birthday for me and like I won't be able to be in LA. So I was like, okay, I'm annoyed but understanding. So I go, okay, like sounds good. But just so you know, like I baked you something. So like I would like to see you. And then he texts me back and goes, is it perishable? I respond, yes,
it's a fucking cake. It's perishable.
And I said, but I could keep it in the fridge. And he never responded.
That was the last bit of communication that ever was. Is it perishable?
After #perishable.
And so was your relationship.
Yeah. It hit the expiration.
There we have it. Yeah, so I guess our peaks of the month is ghosting, everyone.
Yeah.
Still go through it, even in our 30s.
Here we are.
Next up, memorable news story of the
okay.
week or the month. Any thoughts there?
So one thing I think that's super interesting right now is the Selena Gomez versus Hailey Bieber drama with her new album with Benny Blanco that just came out. people might be eye rolling that I think like that's newsworthy, but I think watching two women
Be pit against each other,
pinned against each other all these years later, I think watching their interview that Benny and Selena did with Jay Shetty is a must watch.
I've seen
because
it,
I think there's so much to say about masculinity and relationship dynamics and communication specific to men and women. I also think it's interesting to see how Selena, when she was dating Justin Bieber, really thought like Justin is the prize. And then I think you look at him now and he looks like he's unraveling. So I think that there's just like a lot of very timely just like discourse and rhetoric surrounding like masculinity that I think if you really went down a rabbit hole is quite
and actually my memorable news story relates to masculinity. But before I go on to it, I think relating to your point about Benny Blanco, one thing that I found interesting from his interview with Jay Shetty and Selena is that people in the comments, like the women, were all mesmerized by him, being like, oh my god, I think we were all so wrong to judge his looks, because he just seems like an amazing match for her, which I agree. I think he clearly is so in love with her and head over heels that he's just treating her so well. But at the same time, I also think that just shows the dire state of men, because if you're thinking that Benny Blanco is God because of the nice things he said about Selena, which granted, they were lovely things, but to me, that's the baseline, right? Like, if I have a partner and we do an interview on fucking Jay Shetty, I would expect them to say those things about me. So it just shows the baseline of what women expect from men.
I love that you said that, because that is exactly how I feel. Him saying that when she speaks, he actually listens.
And women are like,
they're like, he's so hot. I fuck him.
Yeah, and I was just like,
this is like a state of crisis.
Yeah.
So I just think it is newsworthy because it just shows like how,
where the bar is. And I think also this is something that is widely talked about in bisexuality and with women that can choose, like moi. If you can choose, why the fuck would I choose a man when the bar is that low? Over women who on average can do those things with more cadence at a higher level better. I will say, when I have dated men, they were amazing, and like I think and I have this conversation with people all the time, the amazing men in my life that I see treat women with such cuteness and, you know, just like perfection essentially, are quite feminine men. Like my dad, although he's very masculine, I think he has a lot of feminine emotion.
But did your dad grow up with a lot of women around him?
Single mother. But also it's cultural. Like I think, you know, Brazil as a Latino culture, we are very, very into showing emotion. Like my dad cries all the time, which I think is very healthy. I think in Western cultures, there is another view of masculinity that is kind of the playbook. So I think a lot of the most masculine, amazing men that I've seen have feminine qualities to them.
I completely agree with you. I think that it's not talked about a lot, but I'm obviously biased because it's my brother, but my brother spent so much time with my mom and I because my parents were divorced and we'd go 50-50 back and forth. And he is so in tune to being respectful to women. Like, he's not like grossed out about like girls getting their period. Like, just like normal shit. Like, he's such a gentleman. He's so intuitive. He's very sensitive. And I think that I really found in dating, when I've dated men who have close relationships with their mom or a sister or an aunt, they definitely are much more like active listeners. And it's not like the breadcrumbs on the floor. And I hate to say that, but I really, really believe that like you need strong female energy in your life as a man.
And that's, I think, the where the nuance should be. And I think that's the issue with the discourse right now about femininity versus masculinity and toxic masculinity, and how men feel emasculated and that there aren't any good masculine role models to look up to, because I think people aren't really seeing the nuance of, you can be this really masculine man that can protect your wife, that can protect your family, that could go to war if needed, that is physically strong, that, you know, is masculine, but at the same time has feminine qualities.
Yes.
And by having feminine qualities, that doesn't make you less of a man or less masculine. It just means that you're somewhere in the middle, in that perfect middle ground. You can cry, you can go to therapy, you can talk about your emotions, you know. So I think all of the brilliant male role models I have in my life, honestly, they have feminine qualities. And I think that also relates to my exes. But I would like to also relate this to my memorable news story, which is how this month has erupted with conversation surrounding Adolescence, the Netflix show about the young boy in England who kills one of his schoolmates, classmates. And have you watched it?
I haven't seen it yet. I need to.
It's dark, it's deep, and I think rightly so, it created a lot of conversation surrounding sort of masculinity and also social media usage in the young. And if you haven't watched it, essentially, like, the three main hot takes is that it takes a village to raise someone, right? Because I think, you know, he kills one of his classmates because he of essentially like toxic influences from social media. And afterwards online, people were debating whose fault is that? Is it the parents? Is it social medias? Is it the schools? And my takeaway is it takes a village to raise a boy. It takes a village to raise a girl, but I think, you know, masculinity is in crisis right now. The second hot take is that obviously social media is influencing young boys in a negative way as it relates to awful role models. I mean, they're not even role models, but awful figures such as Andrew Tate, spewing absolute misogyny and shit online, and young boys thinking that is the North Pole for masculinity. And I think collectively as a culture, both men and women need to decide, how can we again have good role models, masculine role models for these young men that are now lost and looking at these sources for like what a man should be. Other takes were that it's just fiction, it doesn't mean anything, it's just verisimilitude, so like why should we even pay attention to it? And I think that's a bit of a stretch, because I think, yes, it's fiction, but, you know, it has a message. It kind of, you know, does relate to reality of what men are going through. So I mean, I could literally do a whole episode on this, but as a sister of a young boy, I worry about boys and I worry about men. And I think women can only be successful if men are happy, if men are successful too. And I want to do, I don't know what I can do to help as a woman, but like, I'm really, really interested in this. And I listen to a lot of male podcasts about this as well. So yeah, we can come back to that some other time.
I mean, it's the hottest topic right now because I think it is like a state of crisis.
Yeah. To that point, on Netflix, what are we watching, Devon?
Well, I know that it's kind of like not the hot thing right now, but I rewatched Anora.
So good.
So I watched it one time on a streamer on my laptop and I really liked it. And then I wanted to watch it again and just like actually like really pay attention. And at the end, I had the most insane, like, cathartic cry.
When she cries.
Yeah, when she cries in the car. And I think it's just, if you really look at the movie surface level, I can see why people were like, oh, I don't understand. It's not relatable. I think any person, especially a woman, can really, really resonate and relate with her character falling so deeply in love with someone because they give you identity.
Yes.
And they make you feel like
something.
You can be a part of something. And I think I have really resonated with being with partners where I kind of like lose myself. And then I feel like if I show up in all of these ways, I will fill their cup up and like fill them with all of my love. And then the more love that I give them and the more that they take, I feel super depleted.
Right.
And then I just fill them up, and it's still the same outcome, which is like loneliness.
There's a great quote which I love, which is something along the lines of, what you want to do is fill your own cup and make them fall in love with the overflow.
I love that.
So, you know, in any scenario like that, especially with men, I think you need to make sure that your happiness is all within, and you're not looking to them to provide that,
Yeah.
you know, whatever that is, whether it's the lifestyle, whether it's them, whether it's how they make you feel. Like, they're just a bonus. They're just an added bonus to your life. They're additive. They're not taking anything away. But that movie was really, really powerful. And I also, parallel to your comments, I think it was also very, very powerful in portraying the sex work community. And I mean, after that film won so many awards, a lot of criticism was given to Mikey Madison about how much you know, praise she gave to the sex work community, because people were like, she shouldn't be praising them, like that's, and I mean, again, we can do a whole episode on this.
Just like such a like surface level response.
100%.
It's like, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
I think people, when they feel uncomfortable by something like that, it's because they haven't been able to explore their own uncomfortability
surrounding that topic, and maybe themselves, and maybe their own sexualities,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe understanding the nuances of sex work, and understanding the nuances of female empowerment, and where we are with, you know, what females can and can't do, and, you know, the rights that we have nowadays to even be able to go and do that.
Yeah.
I think also it doesn't help that we do have, I mean, we just talked about masculinity, so it's only fair that we talk about girls.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that there is also some very toxic females out there. Like, I don't know what you think, because I don't think we've talked about this, but I am really disgusted by Lily Phillips and Bonnie Blue. And I think a lot of women will come for me with this topic and statement. But I think, you know, I obviously am a big advocate for sex workers. I would love to, if ever I can do anything to advocate for that community or help in any way, I would. And I think we have by working at Playboy. That is a community that we were kind of in the middle of. But I think what they're doing, I just don't really get. Like,
I think it's fucking foul. And I think it's taking advantage of, I think that they are purposely doing this because they want to seem like they're feminists, and they want to say, like, I'm empowered with my body, I own my body, I can do whatever I want, I can monetize.
Why would you
want to
fuck 1,000 men in one day?
I completely agree with you, and it's just like, must we go from like the sublime to the ridiculous?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching have watched the Lily Phillips documentary. So, like, an influencer made a documentary of her going and doing this day where she fucks, I don't know if it's 100 men or 1,000 men, I don't know. And I watched it. And in the end, after she fucks all those guys, she has this, like, emotional release. And at first, she kind of, like, doesn't know why she's crying. And then she's like, yeah, like, you know, it's so robotic. Like, she says something that is kind of like an obvious statement.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, like, you feel used.
When
like,
when you're talking about it right now, I have like a visceral reaction where I feel nauseous.
And again, these types of behavior that are obviously driven by greed and fame. They obviously want money. They obviously want fame. And honestly, I think they want more fame than money, because I think there's ways that you can do OnlyFans, that you can do content that will generate a lot of revenue.
Yeah, we've seen it.
That doesn't need to go into those depths of, like, how disgusting it is.
Yeah.
But when you start doing those things, you're also creating a bigger gap in women and the feminist movement of the conservative women that are like, I would never want to be known as a feminist, even though they might be. And it's just creating a bigger gap between women and women's rights. And yeah, I have, again, a lot of thoughts on that. But maybe some people might disagree with me and might say, actually, you know, what they are doing is the epitome of women's rights, that we got to the point where, you know, we can make money.
If that's women's rights, it's like,
I don't want it.
No.
Yeah.
God, no.
So, yeah. Oh my God. We might just have to do a whole episode on that.
No, literally.
I need to kind of articulate better what I think. But it's been quite sensational to watch them. And I think, I don't know if I think it was like Bonnie Blue or Lily who then did a content day saying they would go to like an old person's home. Like,
no.
Anyways, let's move on. I also watched Emilia Perez. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
I loved it. I love a musical, and I think Zoe Saldana should have won. I mean, she did win like Best Supporting Actress. My only negative kind of comment about it is that they didn't use any Mexican artists or Mexican sort of actresses and actors. I think they said that they couldn't find any. And then Zoe Saldana.
It's like, come on.
And then Zoe Saldana in her like winning speech, not in her winning speech, but in the like post Oscars interview, she said that when someone kind of confronted them about it, she said that the movie wasn't about Mexico. It was about the story of 4 women. She didn't even say it was about like trans rights, which again is another thing that I think they should have, honed in a bit more on it. She's like, this could have happened in Detroit. It could have happened in Gaza. It could have happened in Israel. And people were like, but the story is set in Mexico, so you should have used like Mexican artists. So that was my only beef with it. Other than that, I liked it, and it should have won a few awards. I also watched We Live in Time with the wonderful Florence Pugh. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
Don't watch it on a plane. I bawled.
Oh, really?
And I think it was a really good depiction of my kind of biggest takeaway from it was so nice to see a film that actually portrays what like a 34-year-old looks like, acts like. Because I think, and maybe that's just me, but I've always thought like, in Friends, how they were supposed to be like 30.
Yes.
They seemed so much older.
Yes.
And I think every film or series I've watched that portrays like 30-year-olds, they just seem like they're 45.
It's so true though.
And this film,
I need to watch.
Yeah, and this film like accurately like really portrays what like I feel we're doing as like 30-year-olds. It was wonderful. I cried a lot. But what are you reading?
So right now I'm reading Ina Garten's book.
Cute.
It's called
Is that like a cooking woman?
No, it's like her memoir. It's called Be Ready When the Luck Happens. So it basically just like, I'm not done with it, but I love reading a memoir. I got it because I just love the Martha Stewart doc, and like I thought it was like kind of interesting to see just like different facets of her life. And so this is just like, it basically talks about like how she didn't just get overnight success and like fame.
Overnight success takes 10 years.
Yeah, true.
FYI.
True. It's good. I feel like I last year was reading like a book a week and was just like on such a bookworm quest. And this year I haven't been super inspired to get back into my reading. I kind of like ebb and flow. So this is like a light read.
Yeah, that's nice. I'm a huge reader, as you know, but I really struggle to read nonfiction. Obviously fiction novels I get through within days if it's a good one, maybe a week. I'm trying really hard to read more nonfictions because my list of what I want to read that's nonfiction is much bigger than my novels, right? But it does take me like, probably I'm trying to do like 2 books a month, but it depends what I'm doing. It usually takes me longer nowadays, especially because I'm like listening to a lot of podcasts, watching a lot of podcasts, so it's just tough. But I'm reading The Kite Runner, which, if you haven't read, please do. It's beautiful. And it was really timely that I was reading it whilst being in the Middle East because I could kind of feel myself more in the things that they were talking about. And it was so nice just to be away from the USA for a while. I mean, a while, I say that. I was away for 10 days. But just also remembering that, like, the USA isn't the epicenter of the world, as, like, a lot of people here think.
Yeah.
And I always love going abroad and just kind of being like, the world is so big and diversity of thought is so important, and I wish we could find it in the interior a little bit more in the country. So yeah, it was nice being in the Middle East and just being away from this cuckoo-ness for a bit. As we said in the beginning, we have questions that come to us that aren't so big for a full episode. They're smaller questions.
Small and cute.
Small and cute.
Like
so
you.
Thank you. 5'1", just like Sabrina Carpenter.
I really want to try to do that thing she does in the in her concert where she like puts her leg up and then goes into a split. I think you could do that.
Yeah, I could do that when I was 12.
I'm gonna try after this. I'll
Yeah,
report
no.
back.
But we got we got a few of these, but we chose this one because I think it relates to some of the topics that we have spoken about thus far. I'll read it out. Someone said to us, I'd love to see you address the female orgasm and how we are all conditioned to believe growing up that it's all about the guy finishing. We stroke the guy's ego and make him feel better if he can't perform. But how many guys have we met that actually put our needs first?
One.
I think you should definitely answer this first, because as a bisexual woman, I have, varied experiences here.
Yeah. So I think I loved this question because...
Devon's like, I love to finish. That's all that's in your mind.
No, literally. I'm so horny. I really liked this question because I think I haven't really thought about it in a long time. It's something I used to think about when I was younger, but I do feel like we are so conditioned as women to always need to look hot for the man. So it's like, even it goes like to lingerie, and it's like this whole like economy behind lingerie and like sex toys is really, in my opinion, like a 90% for the man. And like an example of this is when we worked at Playboy and I launched Playboy lingerie. In my head, the concepting was like, this is for the woman, because so often we're told like, wear this to look sexy for him. And so when we designed that collection, we launched it, in my head I was like, I want this to be for like the girl. Like, I want this to be for you, and like I want you to feel really fucking hot when you're in it.
Right.
And so that is like when I started to really think about this, like when we launched Playboy lingerie, because I was like, wow, like I'm so guilty of always doing everything for the man. I think with like every single girl has had this happen, but it's like, if you're having sex with someone and it's just like not that great and you're just like chop buddy,
right,
like you are faking it. And the funniest thing to me is like when you're faking it, the guy is like, yeah, did you come? Or he'll be like, come for me, baby.
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
yeah.
I shouldn't just come on cue, like when you're saying like, come for me, baby. Like, and I think then, like for me, I'm like, yeah, like I'm going to come for you. And it's just like, why are we all faking this? And we're all faking it. I have faked it so many times. But why am I faking it? Like, I don't know. I think I'm faking it because it's like, for me to get off would take so much longer. Anyone I've ever really been into, I've never had to fake it, and I feel comfortable like saying what I need. I think for me, if I don't feel super comfortable with someone, that's when it's like a little bit more like, I don't want to say like you're acting, but I think it's like you want the person to like you so much. Like for me, it goes back to like, the guy, I really want him to like me, and I really want him to think I'm hot, and like if he has a good time getting off with me, then I think like, oh, he'll like me more. Like if I really break it down.
Yeah. I've almost certainly always faked it with men. Not with women, but with men I always have. And again, like there's so many theories and reasons as to why we do it. I think for me, how can I put this in an analogy? If my sexuality was a game of Mario Bros, right?
Love.
And Luigi.
I'm actually scared.
Okay, so if my sexuality was a game of Mario Bros, and by age 20, I'm at level 15, right?
Yeah.
I know what makes me feel good. I know what I like. I know how to pleasure myself. Like, I know the feelings that I want to feel. And I go into these sexual relationships with men or women, or women, but mainly men.
Yeah.
And they're at like a level 2. I don't want to exert the effort of bringing them to a level 15. It's easier to fake it, right?
Yeah.
What then is easier for me is to then go find the people who are at level 10 or level 12.
Yes.
And then the effort that I need to exert to get them to the level 15 is so much easier, right? with me, I'm also a giver, just like Chapel Roan's new song. And I think most of the pleasure that I derive, with people are by giving.
I think I'm for sure a giver.
We're both givers.
Yeah.
And honestly, the devil couldn't find us, so they made us givers.
Yeah, because it's so exhausting.
It's exhausting being a giver.
Yeah, but good workout.
Yeah, and also, like, that's the thing. You don't have to fake anything, because you can assert them that you are reaching, whatever point it is that you want to reach by just giving them that thing.
Yeah. I do think, like, when a guy goes down on me, if it's bad, it's, like, either amazing or it is fucking horrid. And, like, when it's been horrid, to your point, I will, like, pretend like it's really good to, like, speed it up.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to be, like, sexist. I think it could happen with women too. Like, I have faked it with women too. I think it's just maybe society just needs to normalize communication more, and people just need to have more patience.
I think if women started saying, no, I didn't get off, no, you didn't make me come, I literally can't feel that when you're doing it, I mean, that would be great. I just, like, I'm not gonna preach something that I wouldn't do, and, like, I just don't know if, unless I have a serious partner, I would be saying that in the bedroom.
I'm also in agreement with the part of what she kind of alludes to, that society has made sort of the sexual play between a man and a woman. Like, the point of it is the guy finishes. What if the script was flipped, and actually when you think about a sexual intercourse between a man and a woman, the video in your head is actually a woman finishing, and then the guy has to go and jack off. Yeah. Because that's what women do, right? No, that's what women do.
Imagine, like, the woman goes and gets the towel for him.
Yeah.
He's like, and we're like, here.
Yeah,
sir.
And that's what I mean. Like, what does it take for society to flip the script? Like, what will it take?
Yeah.
I really don't know the answer. I mean, I don't know the answer to this. I think I'm just in agreement with her.
Yeah, I also agree. I think it's just like something we should all be thinking about. I have not really thought about it. Like, I guess it's like you're almost just like, it's not like a script, but it's just like
what you do.
Yeah, what you do.
And she says, how many guys have you met that put our needs first? My answer is 0, -5.
Oh, I've met a few givers. Best
sex
of my life, baby.
Send them her way. But also, they then ghosted you. Let's not forget that.
Okay.
Devon's going to send you some men in her Rolodex that are
givers.
Okay at this.
I have, besides Ghosty, I have 2 other givers. And I will send them to her. Okay. Because I am a loving person.
Thanks. DM us again, and Devon's going to send. All right. Next up, we've got hot take of the month.
Okay. This is my hot take. So I was thinking about this the other day while I was just driving. I always get, like, all my best, like, thoughts driving. So I hit the stoplight, and I was thinking about having sex with someone, like, about a month ago. And we were having doggy style sex. And then it was really good until then he was, like, doing all these, like, positions from behind. And at one point I was like, wow, as women, we are always conditioned to receive. So, like, I am completely on the receiving end of this right now. Am I, like, a sex doll? Like, I was just, like, thinking this, and, like, that's how I felt in the moment. And then I was thinking about how, like, Megan Fox wrote her poetry book. And when she was on tour promoting her book, she was talking about, like, how so often, like, women fall in love with men for the potential. And in that moment, I, like, kind of put the 2 together, and I was like, women will always be receiving, and we will always be looking for the potential of our partner. And, like, I just really, really, really wish women could, like, wake the fuck up and be like, I am so much more than this. Like, do you think a man sits around on a weekend and says, oh, she's not going to be a good mother, she's horrible at communication, she gives me anxiety and makes me feel like shit, but there's so much potential? No. And I'm like, let us, like, just flip the switch for a second. Like, it's so frustrating to me when I see friends who are, like, upset about a guy and they're at home, like, crying on the weekend, or they decide not to go out, or they bail on plans because like they're having a rough go, but then at the end of the day they still have his back and they still want him to like them because of the potential. And so I'm just like, please, let's teach women to be more resilient. And like another thing Megan Fox had said is like, why are girls who go on one date and then get ghosted crying over this guy? This guy does not know you. His inability to communicate should not affect your worth. Like, I think it's just my hot take where it's like, we need to just like wake the fuck up. And myself included, like I've only really just been like learning this and like working on it. But I think it's just like so often, because women are naturally maternal, we are more empathetic and more giving. But I truly do not think that any guy I've ever been with who I saw the potential in, if I treated him the way that he treated me, he would have stuck around.
I also think women are more susceptible to being more desperate to not want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
I think guys don't necessarily have a problem with being alone for a long time.
Yeah.
Guys also don't have a problem putting everything before their sort of romantic partners or marriages or finding a wife. They, you know, go through their 20s and 30s focusing on their career, and maybe that's because they also want to make sure that they have their shit together, which is fine. But I think women tend to put sort of relationships first before, and also women, if a guy is going full throttle with his career, they get called admirable. If a woman does that, it's selfish.
Yes.
So there is also a double standard with like how they conduct their sort of like mate finding, you know, journeys.
Yeah. I know Mel Robbins right now has like some trending audio clip where she says like nobody's coming to save you. And it's like, I just think that's kind of like my take of the month is like, you need to be an advocate for yourself and stop being on the receiving end and feeling dumped on.
And the quicker you move from a bad situation, like it's short-term pain for long-term gain. The quicker you leave a bad situation, the quicker you can find happiness and the quicker you can iterate on the next best thing. And I truly am a big believer of you're not, and this is why I'm always surprised when I meet couples. I mean, like my parents, like people who got married to their first love or their first, you know, relationships, is that has to be some luck right there, because I find that what makes more sense to me is going, you know, let's say you have your first relationship, you learn all the things that you don't want, you learn all the things that you do want from that person, you move on, you iterate. You're not repeating patterns unless you've got some trauma there that you're, you know, seeking, but you're iterating until you find the thing that you, to you, is the light bulb moment and says, this is it. Yeah. And this is good enough. And, you know, I don't think it will get better than this. And this is what I'm going to stick with. And I don't think that's settling, but I think that's just you've iterated enough that you kind of have a good idea of what like you can and can't get and what, you know, you should, you know, stick with. So I think maybe the kind of the summary of that is like women and men have a very different experience in their journey of love and relationships, and there are certainly so many double standards.
I'm so glad me getting hit from the back, I was able to.
I forgot that this is how it started. I forgot
so glad that was my light bulb.
But also, you're the prettiest little sex doll that there ever was. The next question is, what have I learned? But would you say that is it, or do you have any other learnings from this month?
That's my learnings for the month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My learning is, and this is something that I was thinking about today, and I don't know why. And if anyone has any idea as to why this might be, then put it in the comments or in our DMs. So, as you all know, I love podcasts and I listen to so many podcasts. But my favorite podcasts are all men. It's Joe Rogan, it's Lex Fridman, it's Chris Williamson, it's Scott Galloway, and I have no idea why. Is it a market issue that there aren't enough good female podcasts that I want to listen to that are touching on the topics that, you know, I want to delve into? Or is it just like a really surface level issue of like, maybe I just prefer a male voice? Like, I don't know, but this is what I've learned. Like, I just like listening to men over women as it relates to podcasts, which is crazy. And I don't know why. Maybe we can change that. Maybe I can become my favorite female podcaster.
Watch you just like listen to your voice like on repeat.
I do that with my Instagram stories. Do you ever like just post a
Yes.
story, which we do every day?
Yes.
And then what I do all day is just go through it and think,
when
iconic,
I post,
amazing.
When I post a story of myself, I am engaging my content 60 times.
Like
that
you're the
day.
900 viewers of it. I don't know what it is. I just think it's iconic.
It's iconic.
Like
I feel the
I would
same
love
way.
to watch my content.
Yes, love.
I think it's funny.
I love watching.
I
your
think it's
content.
aesthetic. I think it's fun and wild and sometimes goofy.
It's all the things.
Be your own cheerleader.
Yeah, it's true.
Thanks. What are you hyper fixated on this month?
So mine's kind of silly.
Doggy
but...
style.
Not wrong. I'm obsessed with Mountain Valley, like the spring water, the sparkling.
You're obsessed with water
bottle.
this month.
I cannot stop. I am like drinking one a day, total oral fixation for it. Like that's my hyper fixation. Can't stop with this water. Second hyper fixation is like icks, like total ickless, where I'm just like have a running notes on my phone and I am just like adding icks every single day. That's kind of been like my hyper.
That's really gonna help you get a husband, Devon.
We're
on the right track.
It's just like what's like icking me out. And like it's like thinking about, I think because like you know how they were saying with Mercury retrograde, you're like purging like old shit. So I don't know, but I feel like the last couple weeks I've just been like getting like reminders of things that didn't work for me and getting like physically icked by them.
Yeah.
Like the other day I was thinking of this guy I was going on dates with who would like kind of stumble when he walked and drag his feet, and I'm just like bleh.
Just like our editor.
Icked. Yes,
There was
like
also
editor.
There was also a solar eclipse this month, which I think definitely sent Mercury into Gatorade.
Yeah, I think that it had to be something because I've never in my life been so hyper fixated on like the shedding. And I think me wanting to like shed and purge old things has just reminded me of all of these icks.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I also feel that with the ick thing though,
Yeah.
just to play devil's advocate,
Yes, tell me.
I have read somewhere that the reason that sometimes like if you marry your like high school sweetheart or college, lover or whatever, sometimes it's easier to go through that relationship and why people stick together because you're kind of learning about those, like you're kind of going through the journey together and adapting to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas if you leave it to later on in life, you have molded your life so much to your liking and your preferences and where you want to live and what you want to eat. Whereas when you're with someone for longer, you kind of go through that together. So like go easy on the icks. My hyperfixation of the month, and this is a little deeper than doggy style, but it's something I think I've thought about a lot in the last 1 or 2 years. And for whatever reason this month, maybe it's because I'm now just turned 30 and I'm thinking about it more, but just the concept of happiness. And again, a lot of the podcasts I listen to go into this topic. What is happiness? How do we achieve it? What's the point of it? Like, is life, the meaning of life, just to be happy, or is it more to have meaning and consequence? And I really like the idea of happiness just being like a state that you're content with, that you wouldn't change anything in your life. And that is how I feel. Like, I feel like I'm a very happy person, because if anyone was to ask me, like, is there anything you want to change in your life? I'd honestly be like, no. So I always am thinking about, okay, if I feel like I'm a happy person, then almost like, what is the meaning to my life? If like I'm already there, is it just to like keep going and enjoy it and just know that like I've got a good solid ground, and then I can, make whatever things that I want to achieve or dreams in this like solid state of happiness. I was also thinking about how much of it is genetics, right? I think people underplay a lot kind of how much it's nature versus nurture in your DNA. Yeah. And I have very happy parents. Like, they could go through shit and suffering, but their constant state is still of like happiness. So it's just something I'm really fixated on, just the idea of
Do you feel
happiness.
like you romanticize happiness?
No, because it's something that I already have. I romanticize a lot of other things though, that I don't have.
I mean, because I get what you're saying. I think I just cannot relate to feeling like that. So, no, I want to like dive deeper in it.
Like, I'm sorry, that's not funny, but like,
I'm like, why'd you just laugh at me?
that's not funny because you're a joyous person though. Like,
Yeah.
you have joy, but maybe your state isn't of happiness, but you do have joy because
Yeah.
you radiate joy
Yeah.
and you make others feel happy.
Oh, you make me.
I
feel
didn't
happy.
mean to laugh.
That was
I
so
think
mean.
when I get awkward, I laugh because I'm like, oh, that's not good.
And then you make eye contact. No, I love that you said that though. It is like, one of my goals for April is I want to explore just like more with like the happiness gene, because
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I do think like what you said, like, yeah, ...
I love that. Maybe we'll do a whole episode on happiness. I think it's a great topic, and I think it's something I really want to actively learn more about. So we'll do an episode on it. But just to wrap this up, quote of the month. I love quotes. I live by quotes.
Too.
I have lists of quotes on my phone, on my books.
Same.
What has been your quote of the month?
So
Fuck bitches get money again.
Yes, I had two. I couldn't choose. So, quote of the month, one is, what you allow is what will continue.
Mm-hmm.
I love this quote because I think so often we want change or we'll be unhappy with the facet of our life, but we don't actually put in the work and the momentum to actually see what we want to be different. So for me, I know there's like something in my life that I really wanted to change, but I've continued the same pattern for like maybe 10 years. So when I saw this quote, I was like, okay, this is correct. Basically, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So if I'm actually going to get serious about wanting to change, I have to change my behaviors to see the result. It sounds simple, but I think so often what's comfortable is routine, and to shake it up is uncomfortable.
100%.
Second quote is, going from being worried about what might happen to being excited about what might happen is only a mindset shift away.
I love that.
So I love that one because I was talking to a friend the other day and she was just like, I'm feeling really lost and I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. And I can really relate because I'm definitely a worrier. And I've really found a lot of comfort in this quote because I feel like I can lean into thinking, instead of me being worried that X might happen, I can be excited about what is waiting for me on the other side. And so I just fucking love that quote.
Yeah, it's looking at life with a lens of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And just being like excited. Like, I feel like when I go to bed every night now, I'm just like, oh, like, what's tomorrow gonna bring?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, be like the star in your own life.
And I think just being alive is fucking cool.
Yeah, like, it is. Seriously.
It's like really cool.
I think it's just a reminder.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your quote?
My quote is, the only true test of intelligence is if you get what you want out of life. Which is by Naval Ravikant, which is someone I love. And there are two parts to that, he explains. One is knowing what you want and how important it is to actually just know what you want. And two is knowing how to do the right things to go and get that. But I think the quote itself of the true test of intelligence is getting what you want is just...
Yeah.
I'll leave everyone with that.
It's perfect.
We won't unpack it. Okay. Just let that simmer.
Give it a think.
Give it a think. But we have to wrap this up. Okay. I'm excited to do this every month with you at the end of every month. And I think these episodes will be a little lighter, a little funnier.
Yeah, it feels like a world tour. It's like a little check-in.
Little check-in.
Temperature check.
So stick around. Next month there'll be more of these. And send your questions. Keep sending them.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.